A warm welcome to all the viewers for the course Strength of Materials, AME 302. Myself Thiapal, Assistant Professor of Department of Mechanical Engineering, JIS College of Engineering, is going to give a detailed lecture on spring today. So basically this is in the module of 5 in your course, and today we are going to talk about that what is spring, why we are using spring, what are the various types of spring, then how you are going to obtain the strain energy that has been absorbed by the spring. So before I start my lecture, it is very essential for all of us to know that what is spring. So if you look at around yourself, then you have seen so many examples where the spring is basically used, isn't it? So if I just come to the definition, then I must say spring is some sort of material that has been used in some of the instrument or somewhere to absorb the energy, and what happens, it can change the position also, but it doesn't undergo any permanent deformation as per the requirement. Okay. So whatever is that, it absorbs energy in forms of resilience, and it can be used and it can be restored also again when it is releasing the energy. So if I talk about a stopwatch or some sort of watch, you can see that spring is basically used in the watch, okay, where it absorbs the strain energy, and whenever it is required, it releases energy also to run the watch. So like that way we have used so many instruments also where the spring is used. So whenever you are giving some weight on that particular object also, it basically absorbs some sort of strain energy within itself, and then as per the requirement it releases also, and it works as it is. Okay. So how you are going to justify the best spring? I mean to say, if you want to say that this spring is the best one, then how you are going to justify? Obviously the spring is justified as the best spring in the terms how much strain energy it can absorb within itself. Again I am repeating, spring is a material which is used in any instrument or in any sort of object also, and it undergoes some sort of changes also due to the implementation of load and all those things, but basically it does not get any permanent deformation. So whenever you remove the load, it regains its original position also, and basically its function is to absorb the energy in terms of the resilience, in form of resilience, and it releases also when it performs its working. So before we go with the spring of today's content, it is obviously essential for us to know that what are the contents that is basically consisting in today's lecture. So without any further delay, let's have a look in the next content. So here we are talking about the contents. So initially we'll be starting that with the introduction, the preliminary introduction about your spring, what is spring. Then we'll be discussing about the types of spring, means basically spring is classified into how many types. Then we are going to discuss about the uses of spring, that means where it has been implemented, and then we'll be discussing about the mechanical spring. Okay, in mechanical spring what basically parameter it consists of, we are going to discuss today. Then we are going to discuss about the stresses in helical spring. We are going to discuss the closed coil helical spring which has been subjected to some sort of axial load, and finally we are going to discuss some sort of numerical. So without any further delay, let's move to the introduction. What basically introduction says about spring? Well, I have already told, spring is a material that has been used in some sort of object, and where its function is to just absorb the energy, and it also releases the energy due to working purpose, and when it is absorbing energy, no sort of permanent deformation is occurring. So as per the introduction, you can also say a spring may be defined as an elastic membrane and whose primary function is to deflect or to distort under the action of applied load, and obviously it recovers its original shape or position when load is released. So you can see that spring main function is to absorb the strain energy. So when it is absorbing, it is getting some sort of change, it is getting some sort of deflection, it is undergoing some sort of distort also, but no permanent deformation is occurring. Again I am repeating, no permanent deformation is occurring, because with the implementation of load, it is getting deflected, it is getting distort, but no permanent deformation is occurring, and obviously it recovers to its original shape when the load is released. So spring are energy absorbing units, and whose main function is to store energy and to restore it slowly or rapidly depending on the particular application. So whatever type of work it is performing, according to the performance, the energy is released by the spring. So initially if I come to a conclusion about the spring, then how you are going to decide that it is the best spring, then I must say the amount of maximum energy it is stored by that spring, and obviously it is released or restored it slowly due to the slowly or rapidly, that depends upon the particular application or particular type of working it is performing. In that respect you can say that whether it is restoring slowly or rapidly, it depends on that particular matter. Anyway, I can say again that is a spring can be the best one by the amount of energy it is stored by that particular spring. So again I would like to say that is a spring may be defined as an elastic member whose primary function is just to deflect or distort under the action of applied load. It obviously recover its original shape and also when the load is released. And spring are energy absorbing units whose function is to store energy and to restore it slowly or rapidly depending on the particular application also. Now let's move to the next slide, that is types of spring. So basically how many types of spring we are aware of? So the first we are talking about the helical spring, and this helical spring is basically made up of wire that is been coiled into helical form, and the load being always applied along the axis of the helix. Okay, so if you look at this particular figure, you can see this is helical shape and the load has been applied in which direction? In this direction. So this is the axis through which the load has been applied. If you consider, then this is the axis through which the load has been applied. So if you look at this particular point, then I can say helical spring are made up of wire coil into a helix form, and the load being applied along the axis of the helix, and this type of spring, the major stresses is your torsional stresses, and this is occurring due to your twisting. They basically used for both in tension purpose also, in compression purpose also. So you can see that the spring are basically in helix in shape, and the load is always applied along the axis of the helix, and in this type of spring the major stresses is your torsional shear stress, that is also occurring due to your twisting. And one more thing is that it can be used for both tension and compression purpose also. Now let's move to the next slide. That is the second type of spring, that is your spiral spring. Now the term spiral, you can see that how it basically look. It is in a circular type spiral form. Okay, So you can see this is the center line of the spiral spring, and it is seen it has been gone in this particular way in spiral form, and they are basically made up of flat strip of metal which is basically wound in the form of spiral and loaded in torsion also. And in the major stresses are tensile and compression due to the bending also. So they are made up of flat strip of metal which is wound in the form of spiral and loaded in torsion, and in this major stresses are also tension and compression, and this occur due to bending. Now we will look to the third type of spring, that is leaf spring. So leaf spring is what? It is composed of flat bar of varying length, and it has been clamped together to obtain greater efficiency. So this is one spring, over it another you have used flat bar, another bar, another bar. So this type of spring are basically composed of some sort of flat bars of varying length, and they are clamped together as to obtain greater efficiency. So you can see the load has been implemented in this particular direction, okay, and it has been seen that load has been applied one after another, and they are composed of flat bar and they are of various length, and they are clamped together so as to obtain the greater efficiencies. And most important thing is that leaf spring may be fully elliptical also. It can be semi-elliptical also, or it can be cantilever type. Cantilever type means, you know, as all of you know, cantilever beam, that is one end fixed you are using, another end you are using in this way free. So this is basically your cantilever beam. If you have a look in this way, then this is your cantilever beam, one end fixed, another end free. So again I am talking about the leaf spring. They are basically composed of some sort of flat bars of varying length, and it has been clamped together to obtain the greater efficiency. And leaf springs may be fully elliptical also, it can be semi-elliptical also, or it can be cantilever types also. And basically in these types of spring, the major stresses come into the picture are basically tensile and compressive. So whatever types of spring we are discussing here, one thing you can see that the stresses are occurring, and which comes due to your tensile or compressive nature forces. So it doesn't matter even that always in the spring there should be a tensile or there should be a compressive. No, it doesn't mean that. It can be of anything. Now we will be coming that why we are using the spring. It is only to absorb energy or to restore this energy to perform the work. So many reasons are rising in our mind that what are the basic uses of spring. So first thing regarding the uses of spring is that to apply force and control motion as it has been used in brakes and clutches. So if you look to the automobile section in various vehicles, you can see that brakes and clutches are there. But to control the motion and also to apply the forces behind these two brakes and clutches, we are using springs. So spring has got a very essential or important regarding this particular thing. Next, obviously to measure the force as in spring balance. You have looked in the spring balance and it has been used to measure the forces. So you are using spring to measure forces in spring balance. Next you are using to store energy as in clock spring. So in clock you are using spring and it is used to absorb or to store energy in terms of resilience, and this has been restored and it has been used to perform the working activities of that particular clock. Finally, we are talking about to reduce the effect of shock or impact loading as in carriage spring. So if you have a look for the carriage spring, you are implementing the load and it has been absorbed also. If it has been not absorbed, then if it is not absorbing the energy, what happens? In some of the cases, that due to impact loading, it may get failure. So to reduce this particular effect of shock or impact loading in carriage spring, spring is basically used. And finally, to change the vibration characteristic of a member as inflexible mounting of motor. So whenever you are mounting any motor, there is an inflexibility, and the spring is used just to change the vibration characteristic of a membrane, because motor is there, it is obviously it is a rotating body, so there is a chance of having a vibration also. So if I go through this entire content of this uses of spring, then I can see so many important characteristic has been explained here that is performed by the spring, and these are all very useful in our day-to-day example. So initially if I start with the thing that is about the brake or clutches, spring is used to apply the force and obviously to control the motions. Spring is also used to measure the forces in spring balance. Spring is used to store energy in clock spring. Spring is also used to reduce the effect of shock or impact loading as in the carriage spring. And finally, spring is used to change the vibrating characteristic of a member as inflexible mounting of motors. Now let's move to the next slide. Now we will be discussing about the mechanical spring. Mechanical spring first function is to exert the force, second to provide flexibility, and third to store and absorb energy. So in terms of mechanical, when you are using any sort of spring, so first we are talking about the exert force. Exert force means the mechanical spring is basically exerting some sort of force. Okay, because whenever it is absorbing some energy, the main function of your spring is to release that particular energy to carry out the work. That means the spring is also exerting some sort of force. How it is exerting? Because it has already absorbed the energy or the strain energy. So when it is releasing to perform, to carry out the work, it is basically exerting the force. Next, it provides flexibility. Why it provides flexibility? Because it undergoes some sort of deflection or distortion due to the implement of sudden loading, but due to this it doesn't get damage to that particular object. So here you can see that flexibility is one of the most important parameter for mechanical spring, because when you are implementing the load or when you are applying the load, it is getting deflected, it is getting distorted, but it is not getting damaged, because it has got that flexibility within itself to undergo some sort of changes. But remember, this changes is not the permanent changes. So here you can see how it provides flexibility also. Next thing is that it stored or absorb energy. So it store and absorb energy. It means that whenever you are implementing load, it basically resisting that particular load or it is absorbing that particular load. But what it is happening? It is also at the same time releasing the load to perform the working principle or to carry out the main function of that particular object in that particular situation. So again I am repeating, if you want to have for mechanical spring, it is basically having three parameters. One is it exert force, second it provide flexibility, and third it store or absorb energy. Now let's move to the next slide. Now our topic that we are going to study today, it's all about helical spring. So helical spring, what we was talking, it is that it is a torsional spring, or it is a torsion spring which is made up of wire which has been coiled into a helix. So helix shape is been shown you in the previous slide, how helical spring basically looks, and the most important thing is that it is basically a torsion spring and it is made up of wire which has been coiled into a helix form. Though there are many types of helical spring, yet the most important types of helical spring on the subject point of view are: number 1, it is your closely coiled helical spring, and number 2, it is open coiled helical spring. So you can see that basically helical spring are of two types, and it has been distinguished from the subject point of view, that is about closely coiled helical spring, another is open coiled helical spring. Now helical spring, what are the characteristics that you can obtain? Firstly, helical coil spring with round wire. Okay. Second, equilibrium forces at cut section anywhere in the body of the spring indicates direct shear and torsion in that particular area. So if you consider equilibrium forces and at any sort of cut section anywhere in the body of that helical spring, basically in that particular area you will be able to obtain either direct shear or torsion. So just have a look at this particular helical spring, where you can see that force has been exerted here, force, and you can see both, this is the compression is occurring and this is the diameter of the wire, and you can see this is the capital D, this is, you can see the small d, this is the small diameter of the wire, and you can see this is the distance from one wire to another wire, that is the total deflection you can see here, and this is the force, and you can see there is a twisting is occurring, or you can say torsion is occurring, which is none other than Fd by 2. Now how the stresses is occurring in the helical spring? Basically what happens, torsional shear and direct shear is occurring. Now additive, or you can say maximum on inside fiber of cross section, it has been observed, and it has been defined with the formula, that is, if you want to get maximum shear stress, then T into R by J plus F by A. So this T means your torsion, R is the radius of that particular small wire, J is the polar modulus section, F is the force, and A is the area. So finally you are getting the formula, that is as what? Tau max is equal to T into R by J plus F by A. Next, you can see the substitute terms. If you look at this particular helical spring, you can see the force has been implemented in this direction. Okay, and you can see a torque has been done, that is F into D by 2. So if you want to know this shear, maximum shear stress is represented by tau, and this torque or the torsion, it has been implemented by F into D by 2, and this small r is none other than small diameter, this is a small diameter, D by 2, and this polar modulus you are getting pi d square d to the power 4 by 32, and area is pi by 4 into d square. So if you put this particular formula, what you are getting is that tau is none other than 8fd by pi d cube plus 4f by pi d square. So this is the formula that has been used to obtain the stress that has been occurred in your helical spring. Now let's move to the next slide. Now what we will be discussing about, that is the stress. It is represented by 8fd by pi d cube plus 4f by pi d square. But if you want to know the factor out of the torsional stress, then it is tau is equal to 1 plus d by 2d into 8fd by pi d cube. If you want to know about the spring index is represented by the term C, and it is the ratio of capital D by small d. Capital D, you can see that it is the entire diameter of that particular spring, you can see, and small d represent the wear diameter. Now if you talk about the shear stress correction factor, which has been represented by K suffix S, then it has been represented by 1 plus 1 by 2 spring index, which is equal to 2 spring index plus 1 by 2 spring index. So this is the shear stress correction factor. And if you want to get the maximum shear stress that is obtained for helical spring, then it is represented by tau is equal to shear stress correction factor into 8 into force into diameter of the helical spring by pi into d cube. This small d cube represents the wear diameter. Now we are talking about another factor. It is well known as Wells factor, and in order to take into account the effect of your direct shear and changes in the coil curvature, a stress factor is obviously defined, which is known as Wells factor. K is your Wells factor, which has been defined by K is equal to 4C minus 1 by 4C minus 4 plus 0.615 by C. C is your what? It is your spring index. So spring index is none other than your capital D by your small d, that I have already explained there. And if we take into account about the Wells factor, then the formula for shear stress become tau max is equal to 16 into torsion into this K, that is the Wells factor, by pi into d cube. Now we will be having a look for the closely coiled helical spring which has been subjected to your axial load. So basically this figure you can see, and this is your helical spring. So capital D is what? Representation of what? From here till this particular diameter. Okay, leave it. Let me make a drawing here. If this is your axis length, then from here you can see this is the this is your capital D. This is your capital D. So if this is your capital D, then half of it is your small r, capital R, and this is your small d, that is your wear diameter. The small d representing your wear diameter. So look at this particular parameters. Capital D is your diameter of the spring wear. capital R is the mean radius of the spring coil. So this is basically the spring coil. So this capital R is the mean radius of your spring coil. Small n denotes the number of turns of the coil. How many turns are there in this particular coil? C is represented by your modulus of rigidity for the spring. Capital W is your axial load, that is through the axis the load which has been applied, it is your axial load of the spring. Tau is the maximum shear stress that has been induced in the wear. Theta is the angle of twist in the spring. Del is the deflection of the spring. Now we will be having the deduction. So if you consider the little consideration, then what it is occurring? The twisting moment that has been represented by T is none other than T is equal to W into R. So T is the twisting moment, W is your axial load, R is the mean radius of the coil. Now you know twisting moment is also known as, this torsion is also known as what? Pi by 16 into tau into d cube, that you have already studied in the torsion chapter. So if you look at this WR, it is then what? W into R, that is equal to T, that is your twisting moment, is equal to pi by 16 into tau into d cube. Again you know length of the wear, it is known as length of one coil into number of coil. So how many, if you want to know the length of the entire helical spring, then you need to know the length of the wear, that how much wear it has been used. So if you consider the length of only one coil and you consider that how many numbers of coil is presented, then you will be able to calculate the total length of the wear. So which has been represented by 2 into pi into R into N. Now you know the torsional of the circular shaft, that is T by J into G theta by L or C theta by L. So you can see from there you can get the value of the theta, which has been represented by 64 W into R square into N by capital C into D to the power 4. Next we are going to talk about the deflection of the spring, which has been represented by del. So deflection of the coil is basically your R theta, and you have already calculated the value of theta. So after putting the value of theta from the previous slide, you are getting the deflection formula as 64 W into R cube into small n by capital C into D to the power 4. W is your axial load, R is the mean radius of the coil, N is the number of turn that has been used in the coil, C is the modulus of rigidity, and D is the small d to the power 4, which represented the diameter of your coil. Again you need to know that what is the strain energy that has been stored in the spring, which is always represented by half into load into del, that is the deflection of the spring. And if you need to know the stiffness of the spring, then it has been represented as W by deflection, and the formula is none other than C to D to the power 4 by 64 R cube by N. Now we are going to have a look at the numerical. Here what has been told, a closed helical spring which is required to carry a load of 150 Newton, that is W, and the mean coil diameter is to be 8 times that of the wear. So capital D is 8 small d. Now take the maximum shear stress is 100 megapascal. So you can see capital D is 8. What I have told is that capital D is your 8 small d. Tau has been given to you 100 megapascal. So according to the formula, you know, that is WR, that is known as the twisting moment. T is equal to pi by 16 into tau into d cube. You know the load, you know the value of the mean radius, and from there it has been told to you to find out the value for the diameter of your coil as well as the mean diameter of the coil also. So here you have got the diameter of the coil as 6 mm, of the wear is 6 millimeter, and diameter of the spring it has got 48 millimeter. So here we are talking about another helical spring of round steel wire of 5 mm diameter having 12 complete coil. That means your small d is equal to 5, your number of n small n, number of turns is 12, and your capital D is your 50, and it has been subjected to axial load of 100 Newton. Now find the deflection, that is the value for delta, and you need to know maximum shear stress of that material. If the modulus of rigidity, the J value has been given to you. So very simple thing, you know the formula for deflection, that is this one, 64 WR cube into N by C d to the power 4, from where you have got the value of your deflection. Okay. And next what you have done is that here you need to know the relationship between the torque and all this thing to know the maximum value of this shear stress. And you know the formula, that is W into R is equal to pi by 16 into tau into dq, and from there you have also received the value for your stress, that is 101.9 megapascal. Now this is a third numerical where it has been told to you, that is a closed helical spring which can carry a load of 5000 Newton, deflection is of occurring, means Dale value has been given to you, 50 millimeter, maximum stress value means tau value has also given to you, 400 Newton per millimeter square, and it has been told if the number of activities of turn is to be, active coil is 8, then please find out the wear diameter, that is small d, mean coil diameter capital D, and weight of the spring. And the value has been given to you. Then the solution is just simple. If you need to calculate the wear diameter, then you have to go with this particular formula, which is W into D by 2 by pi d to the power 4 by 32 is equal to tau max by D by 2. And here you have got the diameter value also. Now for future deflection, you know that X is equal to 8 into W d cube into N capital G into your D to the power 4. Then you have got the diameter value of this two particular thing, and then finally at last you are going to find out the weight, and weight has been always represented by what? Area of the length of the spring into the density of the spring of the material, and then you have got the weight as 2.0 kg of that particular spring. So here I conclude my today's video. So if you have liked the video, then please subscribe my channel, stay connected, and in the upcoming lecture I will be able to deliver you some more important thing about some sort of strength of material, where we are going to study the various types of beam, and we are going to talk about the deflection of beam also. Thank you viewers for watching the video. So please stay connected and like my video. Thank you very much.